Thank you. Agenda item 1 is apologies, and I've received an apology from the Chief Executive. Is there any other apologies from the floor's members? Councillor Mackle.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Councillor Kevin Savage.
Thank you, Councillor Mackle. Anybody else? Any apologies? Duly noted. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 2 is the declarations of interest. And as usual, if everyone's happy to take declarations of interest through the agenda this evening. Okay, we'll just move on to agenda item 3 and welcome Gary Curry from the Northern Ireland Audit Office. And Gary is going to take us through the next 2 items. So item 3.1 is an item for information, and it is the annual audit letter. Gary.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take a very quick run through the annual audit letter and highlight the different parts of the document, if that's okay. Page 3 sets out the key messages across a number of areas, including the audit of the financial statements, our work on proper arrangements, areas of governance, other areas of audit interest, including absence figures, National Fraud Initiative, and the Local Government Auditors Report. And lastly, the outlook, including considerations on Brexit and COVID-19. Paragraph 4 on page 5, you state that the local government auditor gave an unqualified audit opinion on the financial statements as for 2021. On page 6, we outline some, go into some detail on some key statistics. Paragraph 4 on page 6, the local government states that she is satisfied that the council has in place proper arrangements to secure economy, efficiency and effectiveness in the use of its resources. However, she has raised some weaknesses in areas of procurement and contract management and also legacy policies with the council's senior management. On page 8 of the document, the local government auditor states that her review of the annual governance statements did not highlight any inconsistencies. And on pages 9 and 10, we highlight some areas of interest, including absence, the performance improvement audit and assessment, whole of government accounts, the National Fraud Initiative, and the Local Government Auditors Report. And page 10 finally highlights some information on Brexit and COVID-19 considerations. Happy, Chair, to take any questions if members have any.
Yep, thanks very much, Gary. Members have any questions for Gary on this item? Yes, Sam, do you want to come in?
Thanks, Chair. Just one question. It's on paragraph 6 on page 5. Just at the end of that, it's in relation to reserves, and it says it's important that the council has clear plans to utilise reserves in the future. Can I just seek some clarity? Is that around the increase in year because of COVID funding that has increased reserves, or is it the clear plans around using all of the reserves? Thank you.
Thank you. Through the Chair, it would be all reserves, but taking account of, and we have had some discussions with finance in terms of one of our risks, for risk factors that will come on to at a later stage, but it's in around, we're taking account of the timing of such funding as well, looking at when that funding is received as well, and looking at the rate setting process, and looking at what monies are being set aside for in sort of different funds.
Thank you, Gary. Sam, are you happy with that response?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, members, are you happy enough to move on to item 3.2? No more questions. Gary, do you want to go on to 3.2?
Okay, thank you, Chair. This is our audit strategy document, and I'll take a quick run through it, Chair, and highlight the more important parts of it and then take questions on the document, if that's okay. So the audit strategy document sets out our audit approach to the audit of the 21-22 financial statements, and also the performance improvement and assessment audit for 22-23. Section 1 sets out the key messages on how we're planning to carry out the audit of the 21-22 financial statements. Included within the background heading are the duties of the local government auditor, covering the external audit of the financial statements, proper arrangements, and improvement audit and assessment. The next section highlights the purpose of the document, including how we are planning to address the identified significant risk, how we will carry out proper arrangements, and also the improvement audit and assessment. Also included in the document are details of the timetable, the audit fees, the audit team, and other matters that we're required to communicate to you under international standards on auditing. The next heading on page 1 outlines the important matter of materiality, which we quantify at this stage of the audit at 2.26 million. We will reassess materiality when we receive the 21-22 financial statements. On the significant audit risks heading on page 1, we state that to date we have identified only one significant risk that would have a significant impact on our audit approach. This risk is a presumed risk relating to the management override of controls, and that's a risk that is mandated by the auditing standards to be a risk on all of our audits. There's more detail provided on the significant risk on page 6 of the document. On page 2, we outline some detail on how we plan to carry out our work on proper arrangements and on the performance improvement audit and assessment. Also on page 2, we outline the audit fee will be 75,000 for the financial audit and 24,000 for the performance improvement audit and assessment. I draw members' attention to the requirements for the Performance and Audit Committee at the bottom of page 2 of the document. Section 2 on page 3 gives some more detail on materiality. The first paragraph outlines a definition of materiality, and in the table we confirm plan materiality has been set at 2% of last year's gross expenditure, and that, as I said before, equates to 2.26 million. We'll also confirm to you, as in our report to charge of governance, any misstatements we identify in the course of the audit that is over £43,143. Section 3 on page 4 outlines some detail on our audit approach. Our audit approach is risk-based in that we'll carry out an assessment of the risks associated with financial statements and then target our work at those areas. For all significant audit areas, we'll use a range of audit techniques, including analytical procedures and also sampling of transactions. The various headings on page 4 indicate a number of important areas influencing how we conduct our work, such as independence from counsel, the management of personal data we look at during our audit, our interaction with internal audit, and details of the experts that we rely upon. Page 6 outlines details of significant audit risks. We define a significant risk as an identified and assessed risk of material misstatement that, in our judgment, requires special audit consideration. And as alluded to previously, we've only identified one significant risk, and that is the presumed significant risk of management override of controls. And as I said before, that auditing standards require that to be included on all our audits. The audit response outlines our standard audit approach to the significant risk, including testing journal entries, reviewing accounting estimates, and considering significant transactions that are outside the normal course of business or appear to us to be unusual. In addition to significant risk, we have also identified 3 risk factors, and we don't consider risk factors to be a significant risk of material in the statement, in the financial statements, but there are matters that we feel are important, and we will continue to monitor and respond to as appropriate throughout the audit. So we give a little bit of detail on the risk factors relating to financial resilience and the continuing impact of COVID-19, procurement and contract management, and COVID-19 expenditure. Section 4 on page 8 outlines details of the financial audit timetable and key deliverables to ensure certification by the local government auditor by 30th of September. On page 10, we outline details of the improvement audit and assessment timetable and key deliverables to ensure the Section 95 report is issued to the Council and the Department by the 30th of November 2022. On page 11, we outline details of the audit team for the financial audit. On page 12, details of the audit team for the improvement audit and assessment. At Appendix 1 on page 11, we list a number of good practice guides that may be of interest to the Council, and also at Appendix 2, we outline details of public reports that may also be relevant to the Council. Thank you, Chair. I can take any questions if members have any.
Thank you, Gary. Members have any questions for Gary? No questions. Okay. Gary, we'll have you later on in the agenda, so please bear with us. Okay, members, we'll move on to agenda item 4, and it is an item for decision 4.1, which is a draft internal audit plan, and we have Carol presenting this item. Carol.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Item 4.1 is the draft internal audit plan for 22-23 year. The plan has been informed by the third year of the 3-year strategic plan and from our assessment of council risks. In the development of the plan, internal audit has consulted with strategic directors and heads of department. Appendix 1 outlines the audit areas planned for the year ahead. In addition to the planned audit work, the proposed plan includes provision for work started in the current year, which will not be completed by the 31st of March. 4 audit jobs that were included in this year's plan but have been deferred and carried forward into the 22-23 plan. These include inventory, payroll allowances, licensing and enforcement, and budgetary control. Follow-up audits for any outstanding limited audit areas. Annual audit requirements such as PCSP. Service requests identified through the consultation process with management. The plan also includes provision for advice and consultancy work and also investigation work. It includes provision for audit planning, consultancy, training, section management, quality assurance and reporting. In addition, a number of contingency days are also included. It is important that the plan is flexible and will be continually reviewed to ensure that it remains aligned with our changes in risk, operations, systems and controls. Progress on the completion of the audit plan, along with any revisions, will be brought back to the committee during the year. This is a decision item and members are asked to consider and approve the draft internal audit plan for 22-23 and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Carol, for presenting that item. We have Tracy with a question. Do you want to come in, Tracy?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have just 2 questions on the audit plan, please, Carol. The first one relates to the local government's auditor annual report. That's in a correspondence paper, recommends that internal audit consider the impact of COVID risks to its work programme going forward. Can I just check that that's been considered within the plan, first of all?
Yes, thank you, Tracy, for the question. Yeah, the existing plan and indeed the previous audit plan covered a range of COVID-related areas, particularly around COVID grant funding. In addition, internal audit has provided advice and guidance throughout the year and an advisory role to departments around COVID risks. Internal audit will continue to monitor COVID risks in the 22-23 plan. And in fact, within the draft plan, audits in relation to IT, cybersecurity, procurement, HR, the likes of those will have some COVID-specific risks also, which will be picked up in those areas.
Thank you, Carol. And just one more query then in relation to procurement and contract management. It's an issue that has been raised a number of times by the Audit Office, and a note from the risk register that the contract management policy is to be updated by the end of June. Do internal audit plan to do some work in that area going forward?
Yes, Tracy, thanks again for the question. We have completed a contract management audit back in 2021, and this audit resulted in a limited assurance. We haven't been able to follow up on that audit we're waiting on the implementation of the recommendations. We will be in a position, hopefully come June, to be able to carry out another follow-up audit. We have included a number of follow-up audit days within the draft plan, although they're not stipulated until the final plan in June, but we intend to carry out a follow-up on contract management in the 22-23 year.
Thanks very much, Carol. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Tracy, for those questions. Members, have any other comments or questions on this item? Members, I am mindful it is a decision item, so I need a proposer and seconder before we can move on. Councillor Greenfield.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report, Carol. Happy to propose.
Thank you, Councillor Greenfield. I need a seconder.
And Chair, I'd be happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor McKinstry. Proposed by Councillor Greenfield and seconded by Councillor McKinstry. Thank you. Okay, members, agenda item 4.2, and it is an updated internal audit charter, and we have Carol again presenting this item.
Thank you, Chair. The public sector internal audit standards requires internal audit to have an internal audit charter. The charter at Appendix 2 defines internal audit's purpose, authority and responsibilities within Council. It is a requirement that the standards that the charter is reviewed annually and that the Performance and Audit Committee review and approve any amendments to the charter. Members should note that the charter has been updated to take account of the new organisational structure in that internal audit section now sits with the Chief Executive Department. There are no other significant amendments to the document and the charter conforms to the requirements of the public sector internal audit standards. Members are asked to consider and approve the updated internal audit charter.
Thank you, Carol. Members, have any comments or questions on this item? Okay, members, it is a decision item. Then the audit report itself, there's no other significant amendments, just that it sits with the Chief Executive Department. He's happy to
propose, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Mackle. I need a seconder. Alderman Anderson.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. It's proposed by Councillor Mackle and second by Alderman Anderson. Thank you. Okay, item 4.3, which is the raising concern policy, and we will have Sharon McNichol taking this item.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is for your information. It is the new raising concern policy. It's set out at Appendix 3. It replaces the whistleblowing policy, and clearly that's one of the key changes in it is in terms of the language used. It provides for members of the public as well as staff to raise concerns where they feel that is necessary. And this was approved by the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee in February of this year. So members, that's for your information.
Thank you, Sharon. Members, yeah, it's just really a change in terminology with this policy. It is an item for information only, so he's happy to move on. Okay, thanks, members. Okay, agenda item 5 is correspondence. We have 5 items here from the Northern Ireland Audit Office. And Gary, do you want to come in to speak on the correspondence or have any comments?
Thank you, Chair. Only really to say that they are for noting. I know some of the documents have just recently been published, so Council may not have had much of an opportunity to consider in detail some of the reports, but I think it's important for Council to consider each of the reports and ascertain if there's any areas that may be relevant to the Council.
Thank you, Gary. Couple hands up. So Sam, you got in there first. So do you want to come in first?
Sure, thank you. Just in relation to one of the tables that are, it's the first report, local government audit report. And I think you referred to this in the audit letter as well, that we should consider this as a committee. I know it covers all councils, but really on page 54, there's a table there in relation to prompt payment, and Council is coming 10th out of 11 in terms of its performance on prompt payment at 19% within 10 days. And I'm just wondering, is there plans for the Council on how to address that particular issue? When we look at the sort of 9th Council there, it's 40%, and we're at 19 with only one below us at 17. I'm just wondering, is there any plans around how we can address that going forward?
Thanks, Sam. I'll bring in Liam. Liam will be able to answer this question. Liam.
Good evening, members. Through the Chair, the report you'll note relates to the 2019-20 financial year. I'm pleased to say in the 2021 financial year, performance has increased. Council payment days are now averaging in around 12 days. The Council moved to a no purchase order, no payment approach, which has considerably improved the performance of the Council, and we are now performing very well in regard to our payment days insurance suppliers are paid as promptly as possible. We recognise there's more work to be done, and we continue to pursue and to improve where we can. But certainly 2021, and it's recorded in the annual accounts, is a much improved position.
Thanks, Liam, for those comments. Sam, do you want to come back on any of those? Are you happy enough with those?
No, that's good. Good to hear there's progress being made, and it's positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy, do you want to come in next?
Thank you, Chair. The Northern Ireland Audit Report on Planning and also the Local Government Auditor's Annual Report has a number of observations and recommendations that apply across all the councils. I just wanted to find out, is there a coordinated approach, or how are those recommendations and issues implemented or taken forward?
Thanks, Tracy. Carl, do you want to respond to those questions on the recommendations?
Yes, thank you, Tracy. Good practice guides have been shared across the relevant council departments, and where relevant, action plans have been developed by the relevant department to address specific issues. I know in particular the planning department has summarised the key findings from the NIO report and reported directly through to the Planning and Regulatory Committee on these issues and to the next steps in dealing with the issues. There are some of them that would apply to the council, but a lot of them are more strategic around central government and regional planning policy, but where relevant, they have taken board and will progress with the issues that are relevant. An internal audit of planning is also currently in progress, and we will also review the department's response to the issues raised. General issues raised by the other guidance, in particular the annual report that you refer to, are kept under review by finance and the relevant departments. And internal audit will also use these best practice guidance and checklists when carrying out any internal audit reviews in the areas and any year-end governance work.
Thanks for that assurance, Carol. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. I was just mindful, Olga, you had your hand up there. Do you want anything to add, or are you happy with that?
No. It's just to advise that a report had gone to the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee in relation to that issue.
Thank you. Okay, members, any other comments before we move on from agenda item 5? Okay, folks, the next item is confidential business. So we need to seek a proposer and seconder to go in the committee.
So proposed, Chair.
Proposed, Councillor Greenfield.
And I'll second that, Chair.
Second by Councillor McKinstry. Thank you. Okay, members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into confidential session of the Council. This means that we'll be turning off the public feed of the meeting, and this will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the feed? resumed? Yeah, thank you. Okay, agenda item 7 is any other relevant business. I haven't been notified of any other relevant business. I'll just open it to the floor if there's any. Councillor McKinstry. Sorry, you're on mute.
Muted.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to congratulate you on your wedding last Thursday. I hope everything went well for you. I just wanted to take this opportunity to pass on my good wishes. Thank you.
Thanks very much for those kind words. Yes, so was this time last week. Probably getting ready for just after my dinner, getting ready for the first dance. So thanks very much for those comments. Councillor Mackle, you have your hand raised.
Yes, just to concur with Louisa's remarks and wish you all the best, on your wedding. Kieran, seeing the photo was lovely, and hope you had a great day and a lovely life together.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Councillor Greenfield.
Sure, just also to be associated with the remarks, and I'm glad you went through despite all the advice you were given at the council meeting. You're getting plenty of words of wisdom, and but I just wish you and your better half all the best in the days ahead.
No, thanks very much. Yeah, I know I was a bit shell shocked last week with the comments, but yeah. Much appreciated. Thanks very much, folks. Okay, members, that's the agenda item. That's all the agenda items this evening. So I just want to wish you all a good evening, and thank you all for your time. Thank you.